Honestly, can I be real? Japan just struggling right now. Like, they are just straight up going through it. There has been a long time ago where Japan was just absolutely the king of fiction, right? Where they just know exactly what to do, how to make products good, how to just make their games as good as well, and just know how to exactly do what they need to, right? Because that's just how Japan was. They were the innovators of fiction, if I'm gonna be honest. But then, as years go by and as they get hoed by payment processors and censorship and things of the sort like that, that basically stunt their value or at least stunt how they kind of go about certain things, slowly and really a lot of time that passes, we don't really see that old Japan anymore. We don't really see them push out a lot of weird, different, crazy, unique ideas for anime. Anime games ain't really hitting as hard as they used to, and you might get a banger every so few years or something like that. And that's not really good, and it's kind of trash, obviously. And it's never really been a good time recently for them, right? They're trying to fight back to get that stuff back, but at the same time, the damage is kind of already done for years now, right? Because like now in the gaming space, now we have different countries coming through making things that looks like anime, even if it's not necessarily Japanese based, and essentially do a much better job of it than what they're currently doing right now, right? Like the gacha space, for example. Japan was the gacha's hub. It was the gacha space of the whole planet. But now it's like people like China, people like South Korea now, and that's just how it is. There was a news article I saw by Pirate Nation that basically was saying that, yo, Gotcha's kind of getting killed out here. It's basically getting that titanic levels of just pain and suffering, and we're basically just on our knees, just not necessarily having the best time right now, and trying to switch over to actual video game development that's not Gotcha is also pretty dang hard for everybody to do that right now. It's not that Gotcha is dead or Gotcha is just straight up, unavailable to use and people won't fall for it anymore. It's just more so that you keep going a certain route that is not necessarily your very best, and essentially everybody sees that. Like, let's be absolutely real. Yes, something like an Uma Musume is absolutely gonna slap hard. Maybe a Fate game will slap hard when it comes down to the gacha space as well. But that's kind of all you got. There's other people that's now making gacha games that has way more effort into them than what Uma Musume could do, what a Fate game could do. A lot of these different games can do, and it's crazy because again, these IPs that absolutely slap hard as hell, harder than some ball sacks in the wind of a tornado. They would honestly slap so much harder, but they just don't. You would think because those IPs be legendary, they would have better games or better sorts of media outlets to it or better uses of their IP, and then they just kind of don't. Still to this day, I am still baffled at how High School DxD has not gotten a next new season when it comes down to it, because they should already have that money ready to go and already just be developing that another season past a season 5, but they just don't really do it, and it's so weird every single time. Like, sure, you might get a pop-up shop every now and again maybe, but that's literally about it. If they were wise with the IP of DxD and they really wanted to go in on it and use it, they could dead ass make a fantastic game with everything that is involved with DxD. They could do a game that's not necessarily the whole Infinity Operation Paradise nonsense game that we talked about not too long ago, and how trash that game was, right? I lost my account somehow. I don't even know how. I really don't know how, but I lost my account and I'm pissed about that. I just got Konako on that account, and then they said, nah, it's too late. You can't necessarily do anything. That is still some bull, and that's still some absolute nonsense, and there ain't no damn way DxD should be represented in that damn way. It's just really weird. It's just really weird. You cannot sit here and tell me that also a Fire Force game wouldn't necessarily be a slapper game if you really think about it. Could you imagine just being, Shinra and just slapping around fires like a bitch or something like that, and then maybe going into boss fights and stuff like that too? Fire Force should have a game, and yet it does not have a game, and I am confused as to why. Like, my point very much stands. It's like Japan has, again, all the keys to the kingdom, absolutely can devastate the lands and innovate once again like they used to, but they just don't do so. And they hold, and one, it's either because people that is outside of Japan, like payment processors, the West, and all that sort of stuff, hold themselves back against it, or it's Japan holding themselves back when it comes down to it as well, right? That's just how it is. There is hardly at this point any video game that is like being worked on in Japan that has my fullest attention of, oh, I need to see what's going on. The only games that is like really having my attention right now, like permanently, is something like the Final Fantasy VII Remake project and Kingdom Hearts 4. And basically it's just only Square Enix right now. That's basically it. And Square's not necessarily doing that great when it comes down to it. That's why Missing Link is also pretty much dead in the water and gone, because of, them not necessarily really just the nature of how gacha is kind of going through Japan, and no one's really being able to do anything crazy with it. Because let's just be honest, gacha at this point is just taken up by other countries. China and South Korea are like the gacha kings at this point, right? It started with Genshin, but it didn't end there. It got to a lot of other different games. People come up with different ideas for games and stuff like that. It just is what it is when it comes down to it, and that's just GG's on that part, right? That's why even something I believe like Final Fantasy, I can't remember the name of it was. It was like Brave Invictus or Exvis or something like that. And essentially that's being, done in Japan at some point in time, if not already. Because it's not doing well and doing hot either. Like, again, they have so many good ideas and so many ways to go about things, and then they just choose not to. Like, we're at a point where I can't even get excited for the next anime game that comes out, because I already know it's gonna be minimum wage sort of game. It's gonna be a minimum play style sort of a game. Like All's Justice for My Hero when that comes out. Am I gonna be excited and ready to go get it? No, not really. That's not really the game I'm gonna be looking forward to go getting at all. Because yeah, sure, cutscenes is in there, but that's something that you would think any of these games should have already. You would think that they would have done something like this, and it's just terrible. It just genuinely is, right? You need to start off out the gate strong. I get it, like we said before, you can't necessarily provide a perfect game. You need to have problems in it, but at the same time, you would think there would have been some effort at least put into it initially before you even ship out such a product in the first thing place. And they just really don't. And that's just ultimately how it is. Again, other countries is eating them alive. The only game that really, if I were to go get it, which I believe comes out tomorrow, that I would really want would have been something like Lost Soul Aside. That's it. And that's not even a Japanese game. That was PlayStation's China Hero project when it comes down to it. And the game looks lit as hell. It is the only game this year that I truthfully want and could honestly would want to afford to go get. But that's literally about it. But, again, they just don't really cash in on that on the Japanese side. Same thing with Stellar Blade. You would think a game like this would come out and be Japanese straight up all the way, because who else would do that? But then South Korea says, hold the beer, let me do something that you can't right now. And believe you and me, if I could also go forward and go get that game, for sure, I would go get it. I need it! Just can't necessarily do that, which again, if you would like to help out, not solely just for that, but if you would like just to help out with this channel in general, Kofi is again in the comments. Please do help. Anything that you can give is very much appreciated. But when it comes down to it though, it's just the dang point though. Again, everybody kind of pretty much has them beat. And when it comes down to the anime department itself too, at this point, either you're gonna get the anime that you're looking for and it's gonna slap hard as hell for you, or people will take it into their own hands. I was legitimately thinking about making a whole video talking about ecchi and how to write the perfect ecchi anime, and I might still do that honestly, but I have to save it for like another day. But I was legit thinking about that because there's really a lot of shows that exist out there in the ecchi field that just is not done the way I would like to see it be done. That's why on this channel JSX4 exists, because it's a reason why, if I had a chance to write a show, how would it go? And that would be mostly how that sort of thing would pretty much be. A lot of seriousness, or at least balance between seriousness and imbalance between lewd things that just happen as well, and a more realistic touch to it, instead of trying to be like, oh, I poke boob, and that's just how it is, and it's nice and neat. And then ultimately, in this series, just full on clapping cheeks. Just full on. Like, if you was trapped in a world by yourself and you pretty much do anything you want to, would you not take that chance? Would you not clap anybody that you wouldn't want? I'm pretty sure I would, and that's exactly why, again, the series ended up the way it did. And the unfortunate part about this is still, anime is still very good, and anime is absolutely still the peak of peak, honestly. But you don't get a lot of the cool shows that you really want to see. That's why I tune into Ecchi a lot of the time, like a Nukitashi or like an Interspecies Reviewer or Edaton DVDs or whatever, because those are the unique weirdo shows that's out there that's at least trying to do something and not be this typical battle shonen show or be the typical sort of like, I guess, like romance comedy, I would say, that people very much get into for whatever reason and all that sort of stuff. It's just, there's so much that you can do with these IPs and things across the board, and then Japan itself just refuses to do so. These IP holders refuses to do so. Kadokawa, for whatever reason, has all these IPs under their belt, and they just refuse to publish any new content with said IP. Like, do you not think people wouldn't want to see like a Madaka box anime come back or something like that, or a game or something like that at any point in time? I get it, not many people know about the property, but why not just use it anyway? You have the money to use it for. It may not do much, but at the end of the day, at least it still exists and it's out there, and it could generate interest in older IPs of, Shonen Jump. Like, there's no reason at all why something like Hitman Reborn, for example, just does not exist in this day and age, right? It just does not. Neither two of these shows exist in this day and age. And it's just like, why the hell not? People remember this shit, and if they don't, why not reintroduce it and then try to sell that stuff off again, right? I'm pretty sure you can do that, and I'm pretty sure, I would imagine the people that created those shows wouldn't get mad if Shonen decided to do something with those, right? It just is what it is. It's just very weird, and in fact, again, the fact that Japan just kind of just sit on these IPs and do basically nothing with them, or at least don't necessarily use them to the fullest extent, it genuinely just does baffle me. It really does. And then when someone wants to take it into their own hands and maybe make their own game and stuff like that, and then when that game gets taken down by fans, and then Japanese people very much be like, yeah, that's good, take that down. It's like, why? Why would you? Why would you want that? They're not doing anything with the IP, so somebody should, right? And that's just ultimately how it is, right? It's kind of like that one Berserk fan project or whatever that people was working on. That shouldn't have gotten taken down, but they ended up taking it down, and Japanese people were just happy over that sort of thing. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, granted, Berserk, as far as I'm aware of, they did say they was going to do something, or at least there's been hints that there might be something anime related, which, if it is an actual anime, good, finally, you finally did something. But at the same time, it's just like, still, like, come on, do something with the project that you have, or at least do something with the IP or whatever, and make something shake, right? Again, I'm not trying to say all this stuff to put Japan down or try to, make them look like an absolute goober when it comes down to it. But ultimately, there is a lot that you can absolutely do. And there's a lot of money that's legitimately on the table that they could make, but they just refuse to put out something that is good in terms of a game. They refuse to do anything that is unique, like, ever. And they just don't really know what to do with themselves at this point, right? It feels like a rarity when you actually get a good anime to kind of come through that is of interest, at least of my interest when it comes down to it, right? A lot of different shows that comes out don't really care to watch because it's usually some isekai nonsense of some character being busted as all hell or being the weirdest character possible, or it's something that I just don't really care for that's like a super deep thinking show that sure might be really cool for, the psychological nonsense of the brain and everything like that, but it's just not interesting enough for me to keep watching. I would rather play through an actual game or experience something like that through a physical playing sort of piece of media than just watching that, honestly. And that's just how it is. If I want to watch something, I'd watch something, again, the ecchi variety, because you don't really know what story is going to get told into that, and you don't necessarily know how crazy it's all really going to go. And we can definitely for sure sit here and blame, the payment processors, the credit card companies, and people like that for hoeing Japan as they have done. Because a lot of the stuff that's been going down has been because of people just being greedy for money and definitely trying to control what their culture is. And that's something that just should not be the case, like whatsoever. And that's another thing that's been holding them for a good chunk of time. But at the same time, it just also just it can't be helped though. You can't help but to say a lot of the stuff that and call it out because it's also somewhat sort of the rabbit hole that Japan also went down themselves when it comes down to what actually is a good product and what they decided to pump out too. So it's just a mixed can of stuff that is just not necessarily great for the most part, and it's just like it is what it is sort of situation. But in all things, though, I guess that's really all I could say for this one. Before I actually dip off, I'm actually gonna say that for tomorrow we do have Genshin's whole 6.0 live stream. I think I might react to it this year. I think I might react to a new region this time, right? I don't know how. I don't know if that's going to be truthfully the case, but I'm going to try. I'm just going to avoid all spoilers because gosh dang. But when it comes down to it, though, we're going to try to react to it and see how that goes and, see what we thinking about that. So expect that tomorrow if I can absolutely do it. Hopefully I can without necessarily getting spoiled by 5 million things. I already know there's some spoiler stuff out there that's leaked already. Don't necessarily know what it is, but still, this is just time and place to be careful about all that sort of stuff too. But yeah, that's kind of essentially all I want to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hype up the video, share the video around. Go ahead and just straight up follow me on Twitter. And if you'd like to go ahead and donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until this, boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.